Hello everybody, this is Fishsticks, bringing you a guide on how to play every single role in competitive Tribes 3. As of now, we're talking about 5 different roles in the game of Tribes. Number 1, flag defense. Number 2, chaser. Number 3, midfield. Number 4, clearer. And number 5, capper. I'll be talking about each role in a small amount of detail. This is not meant to be an expert guide. This is meant to be just a basic overview of the different roles and how to play them to get you started on your journey in competitive Tribes. The first position we're going to be taking a look at is flag defense. The role of a flag defender is to keep your flag home, as well as escort and protect your friendly capper when they bring the enemy flag home as they come in for scoring a point or in a standoff situation. You're going to be spending time either directly on the flag if you're a heavy armor, or somewhere near the flag so that you can deal damage to incoming cappers as they come into your base and keep your flag home as much as you possibly can. Different armor classes that you can think about for this position are most likely going to be medium armor or heavy armor. You're going to be dueling a lot of incoming clearers, and you're going to want to stay alive as long as possible. So in general, you're not going to be picking light armor for this class because you don't really need to be mobile. You need to be sitting right here on this flag. You could pick medium armor or heavy. Heavy armor, typically in flag defense, might be considered something called heavy on flag, where you're going to be standing directly on the flag and body blocking incoming cappers. For medium, I would suggest that you start with any of your weapon 1 choices that you would like, but typically I would suggest either a chain gun or a Nova Colt, as these are better for dueling in close quarters than a grenade launcher might be. And as of now, in general, you're almost always going to be wanting to pick the Impact Nitron just because of the utility of knocking the flag out of enemy cappers' hands. Shield Pack, I would also argue, is the strongest in this position if you're choosing medium. Now, when it comes to the perk, you have a couple of different choices, but I would most likely recommend Survivalist, both for medium and heavy armor, because this means that when you kill an enemy incoming capper or clearer, they're going to drop a health nugget, and with Survivalist, that health nugget restores you basically to full HP. So in general, you're going to want to pick Survivalist because you want to be up on the flag stand at all times. If you're going heavy armor, I would again, weapon 1 is dealer's choice, but I would most likely choose the Storm Slicer as well, because this is the best out of weapon 2 slot for dealing damage to incoming cappers and clearers. As for your belt pack, a lot of the time you're going to want to pick mines, so you can plant mines directly on the flag stand. You won't necessarily want to drop mines immediately though, because the earlier you drop them, the earlier that the incoming offense can clear them. So you're probably going to want to drop these mines on the flag stand relatively close to when the offense is getting there. For packs, you can choose either the Dome Shield or the Regen Station. Portal Generator might be nice as well. However, I think most heavy armors on flag are going to be running with the Dome Shield or Regen Station, as that gives you a little bit of extra protection. In this position, you want to keep this flag at home, and cappers are going to be coming from the right, they're going to be coming from the left, clearers are going to be coming straight down the middle of the map. So when the flag is home, you're going to be not really moving much from here, or maybe an adjacent hill. When your flag is in the field, unlike a lot of other positions, you're probably going to want to still stick relatively near to this base. Sure, you can move a little bit forward to try and take some pot shots at the capper who has your flag when possible, but if you move too far from your flag stand, you're going to risk a couple of negatives. One is if you get caught chasing the enemy capper and you're halfway down the map into midfield, let's say you do get that return. There might be somebody waiting at your flag stand for a llama grab or setting up a route for a regrab. If everyone goes and chases the enemy capper, then you're in a really poor position where a regrab is going to be super difficult to stop because you spawn all the way back here at spawn. Respawns in this game are pretty long. Now, let's say your friendly capper grabs the enemy flag and brings it all the way home. As a flag defender and base defender, you're staying basically on this flag stand that capper is most likely going to be low on HP by the time they get home. So it's really important for the flag defense to move out to that capper. Again, not too far from the base, but move out to that capper and be a good target for them to pass the flag off to. They're going to be low on HP. They're going to need somebody to pass that flag to. So you're going to look to escort them home and, of course, take the flag from them when they get low on HP. Survivalist is super strong. I definitely recommend picking it because it's going to give you the option to heal up every single time you get a kill. Another tip, if you do kill the enemy capper and they drop your flag near your base, instead of immediately returning it, you can shoot it into a disadvantageous position. Let's say somebody has a poor grab, you kill them right here, the flag drops right here. You can shoot that flag and bounce it up against a wall so that it's harder to pick up in the midfield. All right, that covers it for flag defense, arguably one of the most straightforward positions in the game. Now let's talk about a chaser. Chase can be both light or medium armor. In the current meta, medium armor is a bit more common. However, light armor is certainly a viable choice here because light armor also has access to the impact nitrons. For light armor, you can, again, and this will be a theme here, for weapon slot 1, really up to your choice. If you're extremely good at hitting honor fuser direct hits, you can choose that. If you like the bolt launcher, you can choose that. Weapon 2 is also up to your personal preference. If you choose the phase rifle, you can start to hit shots into the midfield, even taking pot shots at incoming cappers, but also dealing damage to cappers if they get away with your flag, which is exactly what a chaser's job is, to return your flag whenever the enemy capper makes it out with your flag. So if you'll see, I chose the chaser perk here, because the chaser perk gives you a free disc jump whenever your flag is in the field. That means if a capper is coming on a back route and they're swooping in and they grab your flag, you can basically, I'm going to thrust here, I'm going to use the thrust pack, you get a free disc jump and you're already going 200. That means that you have a really good chance to kill them, even if they're on a very fast route, if you use that chaser perk, which is why it's highly recommended for this position. However, there are times where you're going to want to also pick the stealth pack, especially if the enemy flag carrier gets out clean and is all the way back at home. Let's just say you mess up, the other team is well coordinated, they've brought that flag all the way back to their base. This is a little bit sneaky, a little bit cheesy. The reason why you might pick a stealth pack is, let's just say they're holding the flag over on this hill. You can sneak up behind them and go for a cheeky nitron. Oh, a little bit of lag there. And make them drop the flag very quickly. The same could be basically said for medium armor here. If you're playing medium armor in this chase position, you're going to likely pick the shield pack just for the extra survivability. However, you might also pick the phase pack basically for the same reason. So you can sneak up on the enemy flag carrier and get off a cheeky nitron. When your flag is home, you're going to be sitting in a very similar position to your flag D, relatively on the base or on an adjacent hill. It is slightly different, though, to flag defenders who are going to use their bodies to stop the incoming cappers. They're the last line of defense for that flag. As a chaser, you might actually choose to play, for instance, on this hill, so you can take pot shots at incoming cappers, duel off the clearers, but also because you might be in a better position to stop the cappers as they exit your flag stand. Let's say you spot a cappers coming out from the right. You can position yourself on their exit over here to try and get a nitron or a kill as they exit your flag stand. When enemies have your flag, then your main goal is to chase them down and return it at all costs. Again, with the chaser perk, you're going to get a free disc jump, which means you can go relatively fast. You can get across the map incredibly quickly. Even if the enemy flag carrier is moving quickly, you're often going to be able to catch up with them. In terms of your secondary weapon, again, I do highly recommend either the chain gun or the Nova Cult for medium armor. Phase rifle is viable, although oftentimes I will also recommend that you pick the chain gun, simply because these guns are a little bit easier to hit really fast moving cappers, especially when you're on a high velocity chase. I think that covers most of the details for a flag chaser. Again, this position is a little bit more straightforward than some of the offense positions. However, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You have a lot of variability when it comes to weapon choice, pack choice. All right, the next position we're going to be looking at is one that is actually very unique to Tribes 3. We have not really seen this position in other Tribes games, and it's a little bit less well defined at the moment, but I'm calling this midfield. A midfielder can rock light armor. Mostly you would choose light armor because you have access to the phase rifle. So if you're a god tier sniper, you might choose light armor and phase rifle. If you're medium armor, you're most likely going to be sticking with, again, whatever you want in weapon slot 1, but either the chain gun or Nova Colt in your secondary slot. Again, you're probably going to be choosing the impact nitron in almost all cases here, especially on defense, just because of the utility of making that flag drop. As for perks, you're almost always going to be picking the survivalist here, although chaser can be useful in this position as well. So let's talk about what the goal of this position is. Obviously, you're going to have your flag defenders and chaser on the stand. Midfield is slightly different in that you're going to live anywhere between your base and maybe, let's say, like halfway across the map. One of the great parts about being out this far is that you can actually spot cappers as they come out of spawn. And if you know who the enemy capper is going to be, let's say it's DeSolo on the other team, you could say, hey, DeSolo's coming out of spawn, he's moving on the right side, let's expect a right route. One of the really great things about midfielder is that you can really call out all of the incoming offense from the enemy team. You're going to want your midfielder to be your most adept dueler as well, because a really strong midfielder can even start to intercept enemy cappers en route. You're going to be totally in position, even if you move all the way out to the side. If you're getting hits on the incoming capper, you might force them to respawn or basically make their route moot point. So you're going to be calling out the positions of the enemy cappers, you're going to be calling out the positions of incoming clearers, and you're going to be flexing a lot in this position. Let's say your friendly capper grabs the flag and is on their way home. You can play a really important role in escorting them back to your base. If they're half HP and their route is decent, but they're not moving incredibly quickly, it's going to make a lot of sense for you to move out to them, kill the enemy chasers that are chasing your friendly flag capper, and even be someone that your friendly flag capper can pass the flag off to. In the case where your flag is taken off the field and you're a midfielder, you can very reliably help with the chase. If you're out here and they grab your flag and they're moving, let's just say, onto the right side of this map, it's not difficult for you to move to intercept them. Again, I would, a lot of times you might pick the survivalist perk in this position because you're going to be fragging out, you're going to be getting a lot of kills, there are a lot of health nuggets that are going to be dropping for you, and the longer you stay alive in midfield, the more annoying you're going to be. However, again, you can also rock with the chaser perk, which will help a lot in cases where they grab your flag and are moving across midfield. A lot of times in organized pickup games, we don't even necessarily say, hey, Jaggle, you're going to be a midfielder. We just say, hey, Jaggle, you're going to be on defense. But I think that this position is going to evolve over time and become more solidified as something that you ask somebody to do and dedicate someone to this more midfield position. I think it is also map dependent. This is a particular, I would say, out of all maps, this one, because there are very few line of sight blockers, midfield is incredibly strong. Okay, that covers, I'd say, defense. Midfield is a hybrid offense and defense, but I would say slightly more of a defender than someone on offense. Now let's talk about offense positions. This is what I play, and I really enjoy playing as well. For this position called clearer, this is where things start to get a little bit more complex. I think for cappers and clearers, so much is very situational in terms of what you're going to be doing. The primary goal of a clearer is to distract and kill the enemy defense, the enemy flag and chase defense. As a clearer, you're going to want to show up to the enemy flag stand roughly 15 to 20 seconds before your friendly flag capper is coming into this base. So your primary goal is to rain explosions onto the flag stand, clear the heavy on flag, duel the midfielder, duel the chasers, get as many kills as possible. But even if you're not getting kills, you're doing an awesome job for your capper if you show up 15 seconds before they get there and you're at minimum distracting the enemy defense as much as possible. Now, there is one important thing to call out. You're most likely going to be responsible for destroying the enemy base assets. In your first offense run, you'll want to destroy the sensor. Most importantly, sensor is the most important out of all of the base assets. It doesn't take too much to kill. That kills it right there. Secondarily, you'll want to take out these turrets if possible. And then tertiarily would be the generator. Both medium and heavy armors can be clearers. In fact, especially for killing these base assets, you're most likely going to want to pick heavy armor for this position, because heavy armor can kill these base assets even more effectively. First run begins. Your main goal is to kill those base assets on the first run. The rest of the game, you're going to be positioning yourself in a way where you can assist your friendly cappers by distracting and clearing the enemy flag defense and chasers so that they can get home as quickly as possible. And as you can see, the Gladiator is very overpowered in terms of killing base assets. You're going to do it in just a couple of hits. If you're well coordinated, your friendly capper is going to be calling their times on offense. They're going to be saying, hey, I'm 15 out from the flag. Hey, I'm 25 out from the flag. Your responsibility as a clearer is to get to the flag stand and start to distract all of the enemy defense as much as possible. Now, if your flag carrier says, or your capper says, I'm 25 out, and you're still in the spawn, it's important for you to also communicate your timing and say, hey, I won't be there in time. In this game, it's very viable for a capper to alter the route, and let's say they're doing a right to left or a left to right. They can alter their route to actually be a back cap instead, giving you time to get there as a clearer. In terms of positioning for a clear, oftentimes there's going to be hills near the flag stand. This is probably where you start. If you can take the high ground, you're going to want to do that when possible. But the closer your flag carrier is to getting into the flag, the enemy base, the more you're going to want to get there and just get into their face and disrupt them as much as possible. This is why I've picked the teleporter here. It's very viable for a heavy armor to teleport right into the flag stand, let's say within the last 5 seconds before your friendly flag capper is in. Let's say they're coming this way. If you're doing this to the heavy on flag, it's extremely difficult for them to focus on the capper coming in from the right side. In terms of the packs, perks, and weapons, this is, again, a bit of dealer's choice. There's a lot of different options for you here. I would say if you're picking heavy armor, you're most likely going to want to run, again, weapon slot 1, dealer's choice, weapon slot 2, fusion mortar or gladiator are going to be most likely your best bets. You could still pick the storm slicer as well. I've seen most people running the maglev disc, although you might want to run the frag grenade. You're probably going to want to pick the portal generator as your pack. And perks are actually also, I would say, relatively open here. If you're a heavy armor, you might want to pick the chaser, just because if they have your flag, if the enemy has your flag, you're going to get a free disc jump, which is always helpful. If you're on medium armor, you can pick capper or chaser, and I'll show you why in a second. So let's say your flag cappers are spawning at the exact same time as you. You're a medium armor. You're going to move over to the flag, and I'm running the capper perk right now. The reason I'm running the capper perk is because in this clear position, it is sometimes advisable for you to be a threat to grab the flag. Even though your main job is to clear this flag stand and duel the defenders, it can help for this medium armor to also be a threat to grab the flag. So at times, the clear position may want to run routes so that they, again, their main objective is to clear that flag stand for a much faster capper. But if you're a medium armor and you're coming in with the capper perk and you say, hey, I'm clearing the flag stand, you could be a little sneaky guy and still grab and make your way home, potentially. It wasn't the best route, but I think you got the idea. Now, let's talk about a couple more scenarios. Let's say your friendly capper has grabbed the flag and is making their way home. Now, your whole goal was to make sure that they made it all the way home. So you did it. Great job. You have a couple of choices, though. If you're full HP, you might decide to actually just hang out by this base. Even though your friendly flag capper is on his way home, he does need to be escorted, but at times it makes sense to just stick around the base, because if that flag does get returned, you can scoop in, you can slide in and go for a llama grab. This only really works if they don't have any defenders at home and is very situational. Other times, you might want to escort your friendly flag carrier and move with them on the way home, or you might just recall. If you recall, then you will be in a position to do two things. Number one, defend your flag to keep it home, to help keep it home longer. Number two, you can also move out to be someone who your friendly flag capper can toss off to. Let's say both flags are in the field, though. What do you do then? Your friendly capper has it and is taking it all the way home, and your enemy also has your flag in the field. In situations like this, you're gonna, no matter what perk you had, you probably want to switch to Chaser, because you get a free disc jump and you can get over a little bit faster. You basically become a Chaser at this point. Your goal is to return that flag as quickly as possible. Some pro tips for clearing. It is all about coordination and communication with your offense. If you're showing up one at a time, you're going to get easily picked off by a good defense. If one clearer comes in 10 seconds before the next, and your capper is still 30 seconds out, you're probably going to die without doing much damage at all. So it's absolutely critical that your capper is letting their timing, how long it's going to be until they're in their flag, at the flag stand. And again, if your friendly capper says, I'm 15 out, and you're like, I can't be there for another 25 seconds, you need to let them know that, hey, maybe you should consider extending your route, or at least let them know, hey, I won't be there in time. Communication and coordination is absolutely critical in this position, more so than any other position. All right, let's talk about the flag capper position, my personal favorite position to play in Tribes 3, and the position that is the most unique to Tribes because it involves going fast. In this position, both light armor and medium armor are incredibly viable picks. In fact, there's a lot of variability that you can have as a capper in terms of packs, weapons, etc. I'll start with light armor since they're the prototypical class that goes fast. One thing that is almost universal, though, is you're going to be choosing this flag capper perk. In terms of weapon slot 1, whatever you'd like. Weapon slot 2, I would suggest light chain gun. Impact nitrons are just, in my opinion, just the belt pack that you want on almost all the time when it's available to you. Pack, actually all 3 packs are viable for capping. The blink pack requires a lot of practice, but if you blink right before you come into the flag stand, it can be very tricky for enemy defenders. We've seen guys like DeSolo really pushing this to its limits. Stealth pack is the new meta that people are really feeling is a little bit overpowered, but we'll see if it gets balanced in the future. But stealthing about 8 seconds before you reach the flag means they won't be able to see you or spot you. Thrust pack is the bread and butter pack that just makes it so you can go fast. On medium armor, as really dealer's choice, I prefer to use the grenade launcher with medium armor because you can self-clear the flag stand a little bit better than the other weapons. Again, I'm going to go with Impact Nitron 9 out of 10 times. In terms of packs, you're going to either want the phase pack for the same reason that you might want the stealth pack. You can phase before you reach the flag stand and just make it a little bit harder for the defense to know exactly when you're coming in. I personally cap with a shield pack because if you enable the shield pack right before you get to the flag stand, it basically gives you a whole big chunk extra of armor that will help you get in and survive the run. In the current state of the meta and balance, again, medium armor is often the choice, but since we're talking about tribes and going fast, I will start with light armor. Your goal is to grab the flag and get it home to your base while taking minimum damage. You'll need to develop what are called routes on each map that allow you to build up as much speed as possible, grab the flag, and make your way home quickly. Capping requires hours of route practice, mastery of these various packs I discussed, and close coordination with your offense to be successful. The first kind of route that you can run is called a front route, where you're basically just running straight at the enemy flag. The benefits of a front route is that you're going to get to the enemy flag stand the quickest, but the negative is that because you're doing front and your exit is on the back of the enemy flag stand, it's going to take the longest for you to turn around and get home, because you're going to have to arc your way all the way back. So that's the first kind of route that you might run. Another kind of route is going to be a side route, like a left to right or a right to left. And these are the middle grounds. I would say the majority of your routes are likely to be side routes because they take a medium amount of time to set up and take a medium amount of time to get home. I'll just give a little demo of what a side route might look like. And of course it's not black and white or binary. You can do like a side route that comes a little bit from the back, which is often beneficial because it'll get you home just a little bit faster. But this is a good example of where I'm going to thrust downwards. And again, you can see you get home relatively quickly. And then the last kind of route you can run is a back route, which, you guessed it, has the longest setup, but the quickest return. Back routes are a little bit risky because they take so long to set up. So it's even more important when you're running a back route that you coordinate well with your offense, because you're going to be the critical capper out of your entire team who is bringing this home. There are various different kinds of back routes. You can do a straight back route, or this is like a middle ground between a side route and a back route. And again, you'll see, ignore the fact that I screwed this up ever so slightly and lost a lot of speed. You're going to be home in just honestly a matter of seconds. You could be home in 10 seconds. If you run a back route properly, you could actually make it stand to stand without even touching the ground. So those are the three kinds of routes that you're going to run. What do you do when you grab the flag and your flag is home? What do you do if you're a capper, but someone else on your team grabs the enemy flag? There's kind of two different things you could do. One is recall and escort them home, or D up on your friendly flag so that you can make sure that flag stays home for your friendly capper. Another is to just stay either en route or look for a llama grab. Because even if the flag is in the field, but you think there's a chance that it might return, either by your team capping or the other team actually returning that flag, killing your carrier and returning that flag. Here you can see that the flag returns in about 5 seconds. You can set up what's called a re-grab. And what does this mean? If nobody's paying attention, you set up that re-grab, they're going to be hating their lives, because you can chain caps over and over again this way. So there's a couple different things you can do in that situation. So what happens if you grab the flag and the enemies also have your flag? That's where you enter a standoff situation, where, again, on the flag stand, you're most likely going to be taking some damage. So by the time you get home, you're going to need somebody to pass that flag off to. Typically, you're going to pass that flag off to your flag defense or your midfielder, but you're just basically going to pass that flag off to whoever is closest to you and whoever is in the best position to pick that flag up from you. So you pick it up, you're taking damage. Oh god, I way overshot that. Whatever, pretend I have the flag. You've picked it up, you've taken damage. you're going to be saying, hey guys, I'm home, but I need a pickup. I need a pass. It's probably the terminology you're going to use. So get it home. You might have a heavy armor here who's full HP. You can pass it off to them. You might have a midfielder in the midfield to pass it off to. A little pro tip though is, in general, once you move into the standoff position where both teams have the flag, it's usually advisable to switch up at minimum your perk. You're probably going to want to switch your perk to Survivalist or Chaser at that time, because you don't really need the Capper perk anymore once you're in a standoff. Most of the time, the flag capper is actually going to go on offense after they pass it off to their friendly defense, so they can go return that flag. You're also most likely going to be swapping to medium armor if you were light armor, because medium armor is just so much stronger at dueling in this game and fragging in this game than light armor is. And that's really the basics for capping. Learning your routes, getting mastery of the different packs, coordinating tightly with your offense so that they know exactly what your timing is going to be. I'm about 20 seconds out here. If you look at the timer, 5:50, I say I'm 20 out. And if I tell my team with enough time that my friendly clearers are going to be in position to help me get home with this flag, because they're going to distract the enemy defense as much as possible. And you'll start to learn the timings much better the more you play. But in general, most left-right to routes take about 25 to 30 seconds to set up. Most back-to-front routes take about 40 seconds to set up from spawn. And most front routes, you can get there in about 20 seconds. That pretty much breaks down the basics of all of the different roles in Tribes 3, from flag defense to chaser to midfield to clear, and of course the almighty capper. Of course, in this game, communication is absolutely critical. On defense, you have to be calling out where that flag carrier is coming from. Of course, offense can help with that too. On offense, you have to be coordinating your timing so that you can sync up and not be trickling in one at a time. I hope this guide was helpful for players that are newer to competitive tribes. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer in the comments. Please leave me a comment. We've also set up a spreadsheet, which I will link in the description below, that has all of this information for you if you prefer to read and just want a snapshot TLDR cheat sheet of all of these different roles we discussed today. You can check that out. It'll be in the description below. I've been Fishsticks. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe here on YouTube, and I will see you in the next video.